Hi guys, it's bienja, and I'm gonna be really honest with you. I have the giggles today, so this is like our fourth retake. So we're just gonna roll with it. Today I have Ike Bowling, who is a senior on the track team. Their season started last week, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, this is my 5th year doing this, so kind of went into it. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun this year. Like no pressure. We did a lot of good things as a team last year. All we can do is build on it. We got most of our guys back. We lost one of our 4x4 runners, but I think we got in a good freshman class that can replace them. We've had fun so far. Had a good week of testing, and then this past week started like actually training, actually doing the hard work, and I think it's going well. We got a good group of guys, good group of ladies. I think we're gonna have another really good year. Make a lot of noise.
And speaking about your 4x4 team last season, you all broke a record, didn't you?
Yeah, we broke the indoor 4x4 record.
And what was that time?
We went 3:15.6 and broke the old record by about 2 seconds. And that's something we had been talking about for all season, really. Because I came back, I was here my first 2 years, then I left for 3 semesters, then I came back in January. And we had been talking about it ever since. We knew we had the firepower to do it, but it just took the right day against the right competition, and we finally put it together, and that was honestly one of the best moments I've had in track. We did it at home, our home meet, and I mean, we all ran the best that we probably had ever run at the time. And it was just a good experience.
And speaking about it only being beat by 2 seconds, a lot of people don't think that's a lot, but in track time, that's like 2 minutes.
That's a big gap, especially
Yes.
sprinting. Yeah, so we were really happy with that. We wanted to lower it some more, but some days it's just not always there. But we had a good chance this year to bring it back down.
And then speaking about the time, how others think that might not be a lot, what are some things that non-runners speculate or assume about track?
A lot of people just think it's running, and especially in the sprint side of things and the jump side of things, there's so much technical work that goes into it. Like we don't spend a lot of time just straight up running. I mean, all off season we have to work on running properly, running efficiently. I mean, it's sprinting and jumping are skills, and skills take time to develop. So you can't just waltz in and just run. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Just from the outside looking in, it looks like, hey, we're running in a circle or we're running in a straight line. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Right, and I guess your specialty event is the 400, right?
Yep, one lap around.
And you broke a record, a PR last season?
Yeah, we broke a personal record. I broke my personal record. I was 47.9 at outdoor conference, which is number 3 in school history behind someone who graduated in 2012, and then my buddy Jackson, who is probably already, for his freshman year, is one of the best track athletes we've ever had. It's awesome getting to run with him every day. I mean, that pushed me to new heights. I mean, we all had the same goal, and everyone thrived last year, and I think he was a big reason. And he's one of the nicest, most humble kids ever, and he's been one of my favorite teammates across the last 5 years of track.
So Jackson's still here. Who's the teammate that left and who's replacing them in the 4x4?
We lost Trevor. R.I.P. Trevor. He didn't die or anything, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. We just love him. He was the heart and soul of our team. I mean, he was a big reason that we kept our focus when we did. We, in the middle of the season, kind of had, up and downs. So that happens with sports. And he really kept us in line, and we're going to miss him dearly just as our anchor and everything he brought to the team. But we got Zach Hutzler and Xander Hooten, who are 2 guys that, when they put their mind to it, can run incredibly well. I very much expect Zach to break a few records this year. And I expect Xander as well, too, in the 400 hurdles and in the 60 hurdles. So I'm excited for what they can do, and they're able to come up and run a 4x4, which we need. And at this school, you better be able to run a 4x4 if you want to be successful and, like a member of this team and you want to contribute. You better be able to step up when you need to, and I know they can.
So a lot of people look at the 400 and they think it's just a tiny lap, but there's a lot more that goes into it, and you can't burn yourself out in the first 200 or even the first 300. So how do you run that in your head when the gun goes off? What's your mindset? What are you thinking?
Up until last year, really didn't know how to run it. Had an idea how to run it, but it really became second nature, muscle memory last year, to where I didn't get nervous before the race. I knew exactly what I was going to do when I got in there. You take it out the first 50, first 100 real hard, and then you settle into it. And you're not running slow when you settle into it, but the faster and harder you get yourself out, the better you set yourself up later in the race. So that first 100, you're getting out. I mean, you're getting out fast. And then in the middle, like 100, the second 100, you're kind of just cruising. You've set in. You're not picking up speed. You're not losing speed. And then the last 150, last 200, everything you have. You're building your speed. It's everything you have. And I think being a student of the game of track and field and really trying to hone in on a race strategy, I think I found it and found what works for me. And I can carry that into the rest, this year. And I think, just with practice, it came about.
And so when you're structuring your relay and the legs, do you always do fourth leg as the strongest one?
For the most part, yeah, Jackson's our fourth leg. I think there was one time where he was not, and I don't remember why that was. But yeah, he's the fourth leg every time. And usually our fastest 200 runner, so last year it was Trevor, was the first leg. And then I was usually second leg, which I thrived in that position. I think we all thrived and really accepted. And the legs don't matter as much, but you kind of understand, you're there, why you're there. And our coach tells us, you're here because, and we really, when you buy into that role and don't care that you're not leading off or you're not anchor, then you really put yourself in a good position to run fast. And we did that a lot.
So I know you were at Bellarmine your freshman year, and that was 2019, right? And then you transferred to Transylvania, and then you came back. So what was the reasoning behind that?
A lot of it was my freshman year. There was just my first 2 years. There was a lot of coaching turnover. And cliche, COVID happened. I didn't think that I'd fit here. So I left, and I went closer to home at Transy. I'm from Lexington. And had a great coach. Was in a great setting there. And really learned the sport, really learned myself. And then coaching turnover, I guess, is just kind of the name of the game at this point. But similar thing happened there. I went in the portal, and then Coach Broughton, who I love to death, and Coach Hearn accepted me back with open arms. And I owe them nothing but love and my support because they give me their support. And they've been there for me, and then they've given me this opportunity to come back. I don't know if I would have been running this fast if I stayed where I was, just because of the behind-the-scenes things that were going on at Transy. But yeah, I owe them a lot, and I joke around with them a lot, but I'm grateful for them.
That's good. And even though track is a team sport, it's more individual. So what is the hardest mental block that you've had to overcome over your years in track?
Well, because it's such an individual sport on the outside, and I mean on the inside as well, but we want to do well as a team. I think the hardest thing I had to overcome was my first 2 years I was injured, and I was trying to come back too soon, and I would try to run, and I was running slow. I was running really poorly, really worse than I was in high school, and I had my teammates to fall back on, but personally that was a battle I was fighting myself, because you're going out there and you're not running well. And everyone sees it. You can't really hide behind anything in track. You go out there and you run bad and you get last, and people see that. And that was happening more than I'd ever been used to it happening in college, just due to a number of reasons. But yeah, just trying to get through all that by myself, what seemed like by myself, was hard. And you question your place in the sport, but then you just stick to it. And it comes around eventually, and it's come around now. So I'm grateful for that experience.
Now, I know for me personally, because I used to run track back in the day, old days, tiny bean.
Yup.
But it took me a while to realize I wasn't racing against the people in my heat, but I was racing against the clock. How long did it take you to realize that? It took me a while.
I think in that regard, I think that that's a personal thing. I noticed I ran better when I was out there racing people. Like, I put so much focus, and I don't know how much this had to do with, like, my mind state at the time and, like, what I thought I was as a runner versus, like, where I thought I should have been or whatever. But I was always racing against the clock, which I don't think was suiting me very well. Because in high school, I was just trying to win. I was trying to beat people. And I was running well. And I got here and I was like, oh, I have this time goal. Like, for running a 400, a big milestone is go under 50, so like 49, 48, 47. And I hadn't done that yet, so I was like, I'll get to college, I'll get under a collegiate program, and then I'll run this time. So every time I stepped on the track, it was about doing that, like getting that time, but I don't think that suited me very well. So I had to reframe the way I approached racing, and I had to make it fun. I had to make it about competition, which is what I love. Competition. I run, and I'm in an individual sport, so my competitive nature drives me, and I had to find that again. And when I found that again, that is when everything did start to take off, and I really found my love for the sport again, and we saw the most success. So I think, and it all depends on who you are. If you're racing against the clock and that's better for you, then so be it. Because this sport is so mental, you have to understand what works for you, or you're not going to have a good time.
I think you hit that on the dot. All right, we're getting close to end time, so one last question. What is any advice that you have for anybody that wants to start track, regardless of age or running in general?
I think track, what's unique about track is it's a sport for everyone. Everyone knows how to run, and if you find a good enough coach down the line, they can teach you how to run properly. But I think just going out there and giving it a try, because it seems like, oh, it's running, it's so hard. Like, running is not easy. Running fast, far, for long distances is not necessarily fun on the surface, but I think you get in there with a good team or a good, like, you find someone to run with, I think you can really find the joy in it, and it's just stick to it. I mean, find what makes it fun, find a way to make it fun, and just go from there, and then it'll all fall into place with you if you want to get into it, or if not, yeah, I mean, but don't give up on it right away just because it's running. And just stick to it.
Exactly, and it's not just running. They have long jump, triple jump, high jump. I've never been a fan of high jump. I almost broke my neck.
I did high jump, and I got a big old bruise on my back.
Did you land on the pole?
Right on the bar.
Oh,
yeah.
My dad broke his butt. What is that called? Not javelin, pole vault. The stick snapped midair, and he came down and landed right on his butt.
Yeah, I'm never doing that.
My friends did it in high school. It was a new event because we didn't really have it, and only 3 people did it, so nobody really wanted to do it, and it was just
It's easy points some places.
Yeah.
Easy points.
I just can't imagine when they start hitting 16 feet. I'm like, no, thank you. All right, well that's all we have for today. So thank you all for tuning in, and have a great weekend.